Hey, welcome back to Viking Preparedness, and I am still Pastor Joe Fox. When it's the middle of the night here, I'm on the other side of the world, and it's noon back where I came from. I'm wide awake. Plus, I'm in a hotel that has high-speed internet, and so I can upload videos. My last video was kind of me, thinking, and I got to thinking after that. And I'm like, hey, why don't you give the people something they can use? And I know most of you are not in my situation, financially, emotionally, spiritually, but I still want to help you. And so here's what I'm thinking. Every time I tell people get out of the cities, flee Babylon, the end is nigh, get out, I get a lot of people saying, I can't, I can't, I can't. And I say, yes, you can, put on shoes and walk that way. We're not going there with this video. What do you need? What do you need? What do you need to be happy? Why don't you get a piece of paper? Make a list. When I was a commander in the military and my guys would come into my office or burst into my office and they'd say, sir, I need it. And I would interrupt them. And I'd say, what you need is air, water, food, and a limited amount of sleep. Now, what do you want? And they, a little rude, a little aggressive, but I was with aggressive guys. They got that. And the reason I would do that is, what you're about to ask me, you probably don't need. You probably want it. You may even want it very badly, but you don't need it. And what do you need? What do you need? And I'll even add a little thing there. What do you need to be happy? You should sit down and make a list. What do you need to be happy? Would you really be happy on a desert island with just your loved one and, a flock of chickens that give you food, eggs every day and fish that you could catch, like a Robinson Crusoe kind of thing? Would you be happy in that situation? Because I wouldn't. I need to be around other people, brothers and sisters, saints. I need to worship with other people to be happy. I need the intellectual stimulation of conversation with intelligent people to be happy. I need that. And so make your list. What do you need to be happy? And whenever you get something on that list, really think about it. Do I really need this to be happy? Do you really need seasons tickets to your local football franchise? If you do, okay, you're a different person than me. But you should do that, because once you see what you need to be happy, what you really see is what you don't need to be happy. And that'll help you start approaching a life maybe with a different perspective. And so I got to thinking about this election and where the country's going. Who knows? I'm not a guru. I don't know these things, but it's probably not going to get better. People are saying we're getting ready to go off the cliff financially. Yeah, we could be. People are saying that there's going to be war and rumors of wars. Well, I've read that somewhere before. It could be. And so I made up a list myself of some things that maybe you could use, because I know you're not me, and maybe you can't flee the city. Or yes, you can put on shoes and go, but what can you do? All right, so here's what I thought of. Most people's biggest problem, debt-wise, is their house, right? Or they're either renting a house, which they need money coming in every month to pay that rent, or they have a mortgage, which they need money coming in every month to pay that mortgage. And if it wasn't for that, they could just leave. Couple options there. You could just walk. You could. You really could. I'd never get a loan again. Yeah, maybe not. Might not be too much more until ever again. So it's an option. It's not necessarily one I'm recommending, but I'm just telling you to free your mind a little bit. You could do that. What else could you do? You could sell your house at a loss. I listen to Dave Ramsey every now and then, and he talks about if you go into foreclosure or if you get behind. And I'm not a financial guy. There's other guys out there who are financial guys, but there's a way that you can get out of that house payment, that mortgage. Not without pain, probably, but you can get out of it. And so, where would you live then? I've been watching some videos on the internet about small cabins, small houses, even tiny houses, although they're too tiny for me. But small houses, and you can build a small house for not that much money. I went with a good friend of mine who's a construction guru to Home Depot. You guys have a Home Depot around you with those sheds out front, and they have that 1-2 story shed. The really big one that I walk in and look around at it and I go, wow, man, I could make this a house. I could put a bedroom up there and another bedroom up there and a little kitchen here. You know what? You could, right? Insulate it, put in a couch that folds out into a bed. You'd have a house. And you can build a house, as my friend told me, for a lot less. The one I was looking at Home Depot was 8,000 something. He's like, you could build a house twice this big for that amount of money, or a house just like this for half of that, or a building. And so that's something to think about. Where would you put it? I'm thinking to myself, I have property, but maybe you don't. It's a good question. Do you have friends who have property that would let you put a shed on their backyard? I read a great article, Escaping the Job Trap by, it's Elpel, Elpel is his last name. I think it's Thomas Elpel. And he talks about when he got out of school, he and his wife, or might have been his girlfriend then, whatever, she's his wife now, they had a teepee and they put it up in somebody's backyard, and they lived in that for a while, and they were happy. So do you have a friend with some land that maybe you could set up this little house that I was talking about, or a small cabin on, or maybe you could go in with some friends and buy a small piece of land, someplace where there's not a whole lot of zoning restrictions, and those places are out there, and put up a couple cabins, couple inexpensive, dare I say cheap cabins. So those are some ideas that you could do. That was the other idea. I have another friend who was looking at land down in southern Missouri in the Ozarks, and he came across I don't know if it was a busted housing development or what, but basically there's no houses out there, and somebody offered to sell him a very small lot of land, like 1/8 of an acre or something, just like a little piece of land, but they said they would trade it to him for his silverware set. Or like $1,000, $1,200 or something for this little piece of land. And I told him we'll investigate what the zoning rules are out there. But if you could go out there and put a small cabin on that, you'd have a small cabin, and there you'd be. There's another guy on the internet. Man, it might be the YouTube channel Sustenance and Covering. But it's a guy on a small plot of land with a little cabin that I think he built himself. And, he's like showing you how you can get by without a lot of money and not a lot of stuff. And so these are options out there. Maybe go in with some people, or find somebody that has a little land that'll let you be on it, or buy a very small plot of land yourself, and you could get out from underneath that mortgage payment. You could buy a camper trailer and go camp in national parks. I don't know if that's economically feasible or not. What, $10, $14, $20 a day? Whatever. There's ways around it. If you put your noggin to it, if you start thinking about your situation and say, I'm paying this much a month, I'm on the hook for this much a month, which is why I have this job in this nowhere place and I don't want to be here, start thinking about, okay, if that's what's holding you back, what do you have to do to get out from under that? You could move into a house with some other people. We have a family living with us right now. I have good friends who have done this. They've put, one very good friend of mine, 14 people from a couple different families in one house for a period of time while they searched for land to buy, and then kind of start a community there. And so there are options to do that. So that's housing. What about food? Food is getting more expensive. The country I'm in now, I was talking to a taxi driver today, and he was talking about how food's getting more expensive. My wife, while I was gone, tried to buy hay for our horse and our goats for the winter, and for the first time since we've lived there 12, 13 years, no hay. No hay in Kansas. They shipped it all to Texas, and so there's no hay to be bought right now. Food's becoming a problem. Food prices are going up, and if you think they're high now, they're fixing to go really high, and I'm not going into the cattle feed thing and prices, but food's getting ready to go up. Add to that a bad economy, and food could really go up. And so, hey, yeah, grow your own food. I've done some videos on gardening before. It's never too late to start, but I was just talking to Marjorie Wildcraft, I don't know, about 2 weeks ago, and she agreed. I think she brought it up, and I agreed with her. Gardening is a pretty steep learning curve when you first start out, and if you move, kind of have to not start all over, but you have to get used to gardening in the new area where you are. And so start now. Start a fall garden, start a winter garden, grow some spinach, do something. Start growing some food, some vegetables. Now's not a bad time to plant fruit trees. Dwarf fruit trees produce food quicker, than the bigger fruit trees do. And so they don't cost a lot of money. You can get dwarf fruit trees right now for, I don't know, $20 maybe. And then go dig a hole and plant them. Don't be like a friend of mine who, bought all these trees and then paid somebody $80 a tree to plant them. Are you kidding me? Just go dig a hole, plant your tree. So that's an idea. Critters, chickens, man, I lived in the capital city of a third world country when we first started keeping chickens, when my wife first started keeping chickens, and they didn't have a Home Depot there, and we had to get wood out of the burning trash heaps, packing crates, and we started our first chicken coop like that. And hey, chickens give you an egg a day almost, and you can free range them or feed them scraps, and they'll live, and so that's protein coming right to your table. A lot of municipalities now are letting people have hens, not necessarily roosters, but hens. And so do that. And if you get out into the country, you can do things like goats and yada, yada, yada. And you can raise meat that way. You can hunt, you can trap if you know how. Again, now's the time to learn. So, yeah, get out of those cities, get ready for what's coming, and to get ready, you're going to have to provide for yourself, and you're going to have a plan. All those people in New York that are stuck, and there's no food, and there's no water, and there's no gas. Okay. What about when that's your situation? When all around you there's no food, there's no water, there's no gas. Start thinking about those things and take steps now to set yourself up for them. And set yourself up does not mean buying a closet full of food. That will get you through until that food's out. You need to start thinking long term, because chickens are called yard birds, right? Because in the Great Depression, everybody had one or two in their yard, running around. Start thinking like that. Change your situation. Take some positive steps. A lot of people on my YouTube channel aren't overly happy with the election results. Okay, it's time to stop whining now. All of us, me too. And it's time to move forward, and let's start taking some positive action. Take some positive steps for you and yours. Do your list. What do you need to be happy? And then start working on that list. Start checking things off of that list. And I hope I see you out there.